Hi and welcome to Paper Crafting Tuesday. Today I'm creating a masculine card or even a card fit for Father's Day, which is coming up. And I'm going to use this beautiful Impression Obsession stamp and create the background with some distress stains. I have a piece of watercolor paper that measures 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to create a background, and then afterwards I will stamp over that. To create the background, I'm going to use 5 different colors of distress stain. I have antique linen, tea dye, gathered twigs, broken china, and chipped sapphire. On my craft mat I will lay down some colors, and I'm going to do them kind of like strips of each of the color without having them touch each other. And I'm going to try to have it as long as that piece of cardstock. Add some water to this, and I'm going to take my piece of watercolor paper and I'm going to lay that down onto the colors and move it around, but just a little bit. I don't want the colors to get all muddied. I'm going to lift that. Take some more water and spray some on that cardstock just so that the colors start moving and kind of meet each other. I do want to preserve that light color up top. So I'm going to move this to the side. I have another piece of watercolor paper, and just for the heck of it, I'm going to soak up all that ink. I don't want to waste it. Now obviously these colors have had time to run into each other, so I might create mud, but that's okay. It's not bad actually. And sometimes you might even decide that your second cardstock is the one that you prefer, so go ahead and use that one. Alright, so I'm going to move this one to the side. I'm going to use my heat tool to speed up the drying process. By putting a piece of paper towel underneath watercolor paper, it helps in the drying time because it soaks up the excess from underneath. If you do this on your craft mat, it's perfectly safe and it's fine, but it creates moisture and then it takes longer for the piece to dry. I'm going to keep working on these two pieces because I'm not quite sure which one I'm going to end up choosing in the end. My next step is to mist some water droplets onto these pieces as well as color shine in gold lame. Because I don't want a fine mist, I'm going to hold the nozzle in between my two fingers so that I can press halfway. So that way you control what kind of drops you're getting. And the distress stains react to water, so you'll start seeing some discoloration where the drops of water hit the colors. I'm not going to wait until it dries. I'm going to shoot some of that gold lame, again using the same technique. Oops. I like having big drops like that. And now I'm going to dry this, and you'll see once I start drying that the water will repel some of that color, and it'll create a fun effect. I don't need to dab it with a paper towel. It's still going to do its work. As you can see here, let me zoom in. So you can see this here. Fun effect. I love doing that. And because I also sprayed some gold lame, we have those spots of discoloration as well as the gold showing through, which is quite interesting. Now for the next step, it is very important that you dry these two pieces thoroughly, because I'm going to heat emboss over that. If my pieces are not dry, the powder will also stick to whatever is not dry on the background, and you won't have as sharp an image as you want. So very important to dry this thoroughly. So here are my two gorgeous backgrounds. I like them both, so I'm still undecided which one I'm going to take. And you can see the specks that are created by the water and the gold as well. Next I have this stamp by Brush and Obsession, number H1958, and we thought it would be perfect for a Father's Day card. To stamp the image, I'm going to use my Favorite Things hybrid ink pad, which is a new ink. I know that you can use it in conjunction with Copic markers as well as water-based markers, but I'm going to test it out to see if it works with heat embossing. So I'm going to ink that up really well. I'm going to do one image at a time. I'm using the Fiskars stamp press for this. And there's the image. I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of paper, and I have black embossing powder because that's really going to bring out the image. I'm going to make sure that I have a nice coat on there. I'm going to heat set that, see if it works. It looks like it's working. So I'm quite pleased with that, because now we have an ink that kind of does it all. It totally worked. This is really serendipity. It turned out that I have my warm color right where the sun would be shining, which is awesome. So I think I'm going to use that piece instead of the other one. If I move the cardstock, you'll see the reflection of the embossed areas. I'm quite impressed because usually when you heat embossed over watercolor paper, it's sometimes hit or miss because the paper is so porous. It soaks up the ink really quickly, and then most of the time you don't have time to emboss. The ink is already dry. So pretty impressed. I'm going to trim around the edges because I think the border is too large for the size of image that I have. I'm going to use my paper trimmer for this by following the lines that are on that stamp. And I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch border all around the image, like this. Much better. I just want to show you how fun these pieces are. I just trimmed around the image, and look how cool this is. You can totally use this to create a background on a card. Love that. I have a piece of black cardstock that I'm going to use to mat the image, and rather than measuring the image, I'm going to glue that onto the cardstock directly, and I'm going to use the Perfect Layers 1/16 of an inch ruler to create an even border all around it. And of course for this you need a cutting mat. Don't cut onto your craft mat for this. And I'm going to use the 1/16 of an inch border. And there's a lip inside here. I'm going to butt that against the image, and you'll hear it catch. And then with an X-Acto knife, you just go along the ruler, and you've got a perfect 1/16 of an inch border. So I'm going to do this all around. So there I have my perfectly matted piece with an even border all around it. Love, love, love that tool. Next I have a piece of craft cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 11 that I folded in half at the 5.5 inch mark. I'm going to glue the image down with some foam adhesives. And I'm going to center that on the card. There we go. I want to spell the word father inside this banner here, and for this I've picked up 2 alphabet stickers. They also will allow you to write the French accents, which is great. And I've picked up black or gold because I wasn't sure which one I wanted to use, but we do carry at the store different colors, other colors than black and gold. And the other cool thing is that they're on acetates. So it's very easy to pick the sheet up and see how it's actually going to look before you glue those letters down. So I'm going to try and see what colors look best. I want to use the big F here. So that's nice. Now let's see how the gold looks. No, I'm not digging the gold on this. So let's go with black. I'm going to grab my X-Acto knife, pull the letter off the backing sheet. Okay. Then I can go ahead and glue the others. And there we go. And it almost matches the embossed background, which is pretty cool. One last thing, I want to put some liquid pearls in chestnut over the nails there, which will go and pick up the color that we have in the middle. And there we go. I'll let this dry and we are done. And there's the finished card. Very simple, and as usual when I do a masculine cards I like to keep it simple. I think it is best. It's a safe bet, should I say. I love, love, love how that background turned out. I absolutely love it. This is probably one of my favorite things to do, is to create a background on watercolor paper. Or you can use a whole bunch of things. I could have used the distress ink pads. I could have used the re-inkers as well. You can use sprays. Pretty much anything that is water soluble will work, and then you just accent it with some water drops and a dash of gold lame and you're done. Of course, I love the center image. You could also, instead of using the distress stain on the background, you could stamp directly onto watercolor paper and use the distress stains to go and color in each elements of the card. It is a more tedious project, but it is doable, and I bet you're gonna have fun doing it. So I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and I will come back on Friday.